Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Racing House. My name is Saki, and today we're going to be talking about the aftermath of the Bahrain Grand Prix, the first race of the season. I'm joined by Adam today. How are you, Adam?
You revitalised by this first race at last.
Yeah, it's good to be back, isn't it? It's good to be back. So we're just going to be talking about a few kind of things that came up as a result of that race. We'll be giving our one-word review to start off with, and then we're just going off and just answering a few questions that kind of popped up into my mind as a result of that race. So starting off with you, Adam, what is your one-word review for the race? What would you go with?
Tantalising.
Tantalizing.
Mm.
That's a good word. Why would you go with tantalizing?
Well, I think anyone that watched the race, we're set up now, aren't we, for a season that could be potentially quite competitive.
Hmm.
Um, Obviously, it's very difficult to write off Lewis and Mercedes and that whole setup, but I think we're at a point now where there is a serious challenge from Red Bull. I think
Yep.
we are at a point now where there is an actual fight on our hands.
Yep.
And like we were saying, maybe it has been overplayed slightly, and so slightly by the media and that kind of thing. But we are looking at a competitive season, hopefully now. What do you think?
Oof, my one word, surprising. Surprising that we could get a race that good for the very first race of the season at that track. Um, Normally they don't tend to deliver, from my experience anyway, my memory. Feel free to correct me in the comments if you're watching and you disagree. But they just tend not to deliver that much excitement, especially in the past few years where we've just had the same old monotonous Mercedes Benz just running away with things, and it kind of reminds me of previous seasons where um, Mercedes haven't been the fastest car straight out from the start of the season, and they've had to kind of work away. We've seen examples where Sebastian Vettel, when he was at Ferrari, he came out and ran or won races straight away, which really mixed things up. So it's exciting to see another team really be faster than Mercedes. I know you're a bit skeptical about how fast they actually are, because this is one of the things that we've been talking about in between this live stream and obviously the start of the season. How fast are Red Bull? I actually think they are faster than Mercedes. I think that they're doing exactly what they've done in the past few seasons, where they're chucking everything at max again. Um, like, I don't understand the gap. It might be the fact that Checo's just joined the team, so I can't really. I guess I shouldn't really talk too early about the gap between them. But I hope that they aren't just chucking everything at max, because I think Checo deserves a chance, because he is quick and he showed it yesterday in the race. And I do think Red Bull, on a one lap kind of qualifying setup, and they set up and just go for it, I think they are quicker than Mercedes. They're probably just out of the habit of making the right calls at the right time, and maybe potentially they don't actually have as good a race pace as Mercedes. These are all questions that are up in the air that nobody really knows yet, because it's so early in the season. But do you think Red Bull are quicker than Mercedes currently?
Your point about Perez, I think it's a big adjustment for him, isn't it? And I know we've had limited testing and there's a lot of change that's happened and kind of stuff, but he's gone from a rate from last year to a higher rate car now with a Red Bull.
Yeah.
All of these aero changes he's having to get used to very quickly.
Hmm.
So although the cars are slightly different and the aero is different, Max is obviously much more accustomed to that car than Checo would be now. And I think it's maybe a little bit risky putting him out on mediums Q2.
Yeah.
Like, obviously hindsight is 2020, but if you have a look at it from a strategic point of view, you need to make sure that both cars at least make it into Q3. So you've at
Hmm.
least got a shot at having that.
Yeah.
Um, at least being on the second row of the grid with both cars. Uh, yeah, I think you're right in what you're saying. It's that consistency, isn't it? Because Red Bull are so used to fighting from second or fighting from third
Hmm.
when they stand on the other foot, and they are the ones controlling the race, and they are the ones that are looking to make make those decisions ahead of time to give them the advantage.
Yeah.
is that sustainability of that pace. Mercedes just seem to be so consistent with that clockwork. You can set your watch to Lewis.
Yeah.
Whereas Max is obviously blinded pace and incredible over one lap and makes moves that, looks like a champion. But it's that consistency and that pace over time and over a weekend and over a season that we yet to see. But maybe this is the year.
Maybe it is the year. The way things definitely panned out during all the test sessions, they were just on it. They weren't. Well, we thought Mercedes might have been sandbagging, but Red Bull clearly weren't sandbagging at all, and it became more and more obvious that they were very, very quick. It was just the case of would Lewis Hamilton, sorry Bottas, would Lewis Hamilton be able to pull something out of the bag? He wasn't able to do it for qualifying, but during the race, his performance was just on it, and they took the risk, being the team that was behind Max in this kind of unusual circumstances. They had to take risk basically to be able to challenge for that win, because they knew that if Max opened up that gap too much, it was such an impressive drive from Lewis to basically manage those tyres, and he made mistakes, don't get me wrong, but it's all on the balance of the side of a penny. Like those fine margins, the difference between Lewis winning and Max putting all four wheels outside of the track limits, that leads us on nicely to the title of this live stream, because there's been quite a lot of debate. I think the vast majority of people on social media that I've seen thought that Max should have won the race and he shouldn't have been penalised. But interesting to see what you think. What do you think? Was it a punishment? Well, not even a punishment. Should they have let him hold on to his place? Should they have just continued driving and taken the penalty, the 5-second penalty that was impending? I guess if someone radios through to your team and tells you to give the place back, you're going to do it. So could they have waited a little bit longer? What did you think of the whole situation?
So Max said, didn't he, at the end that he could have pulled out those 5 seconds, and he took 5-second gap and then won that way.
Yeah.
But like you say, if you get a radio through from the race control saying, look, he's going to be penalised unless you give him that place back, then I think the only criticism that was post race of that situation with Max was he could have let him by at a better point where he would have been in DRS range for the main straight.
Yeah.
If he'd gone through that complex, so instead of on that back straight, if he'd gone through the left and the right, and then that right again, and let him through there, and then picked up DRS, he would have been able to have had another go at him the following lap. And I think that's where it really comes from, because that turn 4 on the outside, obviously we saw that move in quite a few examples, but you can be damn sure that Lewis is going to do everything he can to push you over to that edge and it's a decision to make. So as much as obviously you have to go for the gap, and if you don't go for the gap, you may as well retire and all those sorts of things. I think there's a potential where he may have been better served just getting right into the gearbox of that Mercedes and stick after one of the DRS zones elsewhere on the track, maybe the main straight or something like that. Because there was a point where he clearly had a good advantage. Maybe he should have put a couple of sectors and maybe really made that move stick instead of trying to do it ahead of time. Because you've got to think, if you put a move on Lewis in the last lap, there's a to come past again. So,
question before I answer: do I think it was the right decision? Do you think that's the difference between a 7-time world champion who's got all the experience and someone who just hasn't really been there in a title fight or had a car that is better than the previous champion the previous year? What do you think?
In that first stint, Hamilton was around 1.7 seconds behind Max for lap after lap after lap after lap. And Max maybe pulled out half a tenth here or a tenth there, and then Lewis clawed back maybe a tenth and a half on the following lap. But it's just that awareness to just stay just within a certain window, because Lewis probably could have pushed the car a little bit harder there, got within the axle, and maybe taken track position. But knowing that the cost of that would have been greater than the benefit of just staying where he was, doing the undercut, and then waiting until late on in the race. And it's the idea of track position is nice, but there is always more to it than that, and there are greater decisions at play that, you know, an hour down the line might be significant, and it's those little things like that that I think separate Lewis from Max at the moment. If those little pro decisions, champion decisions, that where you have to just kind of take a deep breath and think, right, the time will come, just a few more laps, and then it's time to just flip that switch.
Yeah, and I think just to answer my own question that I gave to you, I think one, they could be a lot clearer because Lewis and Mercedes were obviously taking advantage of it within the limits of what they saw was the law, and they didn't really get penned for it until Red Bull reacted and started doing the same. Well, not strictly speaking, but because of Max taking advantage of that kind of grey area whilst he was overtaking it, it just led him to kind of get penalised and make an uncomfortable position for everyone because Max performed superbly for the whole weekend. But it just shows you why Mercedes are champions, because they made the most of that kind of grey area up until the point where they were told not to do it anymore. And by that point, Lewis had already kind of taken advantage of it, and he'd managed to keep in touch with Max Verstappen to be able to do the undercut. And the damage was already done by the time that kind of Red Bull had realised what was going on. So I think the grey area, there shouldn't be grey areas. I think Christian Horner has come out and said that there shouldn't be grey areas when it comes to this. You can either do it or you can't, which is true. And I think they made the right decision, because it's different if you're just setting hot laps, setting fastest times. If you're going off, you're not necessarily limiting someone else's ability to overtake you, or basically limiting someone else's ability to keep them or keep you behind them, basically. So when it comes into the time where kind of Lewis is going to lose out, or anyone's losing out as part of an overtake, you can't really allow it to happen. Hence why he plucked up and spoke out, because he overtook off the track, so he can't really allow it to happen. And I think Mercedes were very cute in that sense, where they made the most of that grey area, big time.
If you look back at the race, a lot of other drivers are doing it as well. It was by no means just Mercedes. They were all doing it. Yeah. And there was pushing and shoving, and obviously because that turn 4 was a hotbed for overtaking. And towards the end of the race, even after the conversations had been had and they were told to stop doing it, Lewis was still going over it, but Max was following. And because neither of them were gaining an advantage, nothing was said. It's all about an advantage. And the issue is, if Max had gone that wide on a lap when he was just chasing Lewis, there may have been nothing said. But you can't overtake off track. You just can't do it. And there should have been clarification, and it should be clear that if you step over this line, then that's this penalty. But it's the floodgates argument, isn't it? You let one person do it once, and then all the radios start going through, and then everyone's doing it. Then if everyone's doing it, do you penalise everyone? Like, do you penalise every person that does it, or do you get to a point and then you draw the line? But it's one of those things, isn't it? If you can either have an absolute rule or enforce it as you like. But
playing devil's advocate at the same time, I remember, was it the last year, the same track had the same issues of track limits, and people were like, why are the stewards just penalising everyone every 5 seconds? I remember Grosjean was doing it over and over again, until the point where he got penalised. And I think people were complaining about the fact that they were just sticking to this rule religiously. So it does make me think, should there be that grey area? Because what if it's too hard one way, if it's too hard the other way? We all like to complain about it. I certainly did complain about it when it was to the letter of the law. But when it's a grey area and people are losing out on race wins and they're passing guys on track, like Max did, it is a bit of a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're Max, because he's done everything right all weekend, but we can see that he does still have quite a bit to to do to catch up with the Mercedes team, because even when they weren't the quickest car, they still managed to have that right strategy to get them ahead of the Red Bull car. So it is going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one. Let us know what you think in the comment section down below. Hugo is saying there's a little bit of static sounds. Hugo, is it when I speak or is it when Adam speaks? Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll try and change that and get that right. Technical difficulties. They get us all. I was cooking dinner, rushing about, so I might have picked up the wrong microphone headset. So moving on. So who is your driver of the day? I think there's quite a few contenders in there. I think if
I've got a few.
What, you want me to go first?
Oh. First, yeah.
Cool. I'm gonna say Tsunoda Yuki. I'm gonna go a little bit not different, because it was quite obvious that he drove amazingly for his debut race. I think the fact that he struggled at the start and for a little bit during the race, the fact that he managed to hold it together and actually get a point. Was it 2 points that he got? Yeah, I think it was 2 points. He got 2 points. It's a pretty special moment for him, especially hearing that he got emotional when he passed Fernando Alonso during the race. That must have been a dream moment for him. He's obviously been listening to Fernando Alonso. They know each other, and he spent a bit of time with him. He's been taking tips and techniques and driving from him, so it must have been a pretty special moment for him. And just knowing how intense that Red Bull driver setup can be, the fact that he's been able to deliver, especially after Gasly didn't finish the race, he managed to bring home points for the team, which isn't guaranteed. I think the AlphaTauri team have shown a lot of development this year. They've improved, which is exciting to see. I didn't really see it coming. I think Red Bull surprised me in general, just how good they are. I definitely bought into your theory about teams potentially not performing as well as they necessarily would, given the rule change coming in 2022. So I'm giving it to Yuki Tsunoda, but there's so many others that I could have given it to. So I won't talk about the others. I'll let you go, just in case you might have gone for Tsunoda as well. Let's hear it.
Yeah, Yuki was one of mine. So yeah, you did one of them. The thing with Tsunoda in the race was he didn't look rattled by anything. He looked he wanted to compete, and he looked like he wanted to pass people. And there was one move. I think he took Stroll towards the end of the race, and it didn't look like a rookie. It looked like someone that was frustrated to be as low as he was and wanted to be pushed through the field. Yeah. He went for the move and he meant it. And there's a lot to be said for someone that's so young, because he is young. What is he, 20? So young to be chucking a car down into turn one, hard on the brakes, all that pressure right towards the end of the race. It'd be easy to settle for a point and say, yeah, that's a good result, I'm happy with that. But the fact that he's thought, no, I'm going to take this move, and he throws the car in, and like he looked in terms of taking those positions and going through the field. He was really impressive.
Yeah.
But I think my driver of the day would be Checo.
Okay.
So considering, I don't know. This is just a thought. I don't know how many times Alex Albon finished at 5th or above last year. I don't know. But Perez did, and he started from the pit lane.
Yeah.
So, there's these, obviously the issue with qualifying, and he's had little issues there and there with the car, and there's been little reports coming out about it not being the smoothest transition. But when the green lights go off, he's there and he's ready. And he did cut through the field. Like you saw some of these moves that he was putting on people, and he made other people look like they're standing still. Like he looked so fast in that Red Bull. So seeing what he can do when he qualifies in the top 5 or the top 6. He's not known to be a great qualifier, but we know that he really performs on a Sunday.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what he's got early on this year.
That's definitely a good call. I think a lot of F1 fans, I think he was the official driver of the day. We've got a comment here from First Up 37. If Lewis was warned about exceeding the track limit without going over the limit and Max goes way over, he knows the penalty like everyone else. Yeah, that is an interesting thought. I think trying to differentiate between the two is really hard, but I think people need to also think and remember that Max wasn't actually penalised. He was given a chance effectively to have another go without getting that 5-second penalty. He could have made it stick. He still had a number of laps to try and do it. So he was given the opportunity. He was given a second chance, but he just for whatever reason couldn't make it stick. So we can move on from that. We've got a Race Craze TV driver of the day. Consider Lewis, not for winning, but doing it in a slower car and tyres 10 laps older than Max. That's a good call. That's a very good call. The fact that he was able to still produce that performance on old tyres in a slower car.
Out and just saying that the Mercedes is a slower car after one round.
Yeah. I think people are starting to realise. Actually, I still see people still denying it, because Red Bull obviously do have the faster car this year, but people don't really want to recognise how good a job Lewis did yesterday. I'm just going to read out a few more comments. Keep them coming in, everyone. It's good to get you involved with the discussion. Liam Talks Motorsport, not Liam Talks F1. Liam Talks Motorsport. Got that wrong last time. Driver of the day, Mazepin. We'll get to Mazepin later. Don't you worry, Liam. We'll get to him later. Bit of a terrible day for him. Bad debut, but we'll discuss it later. Race Craze TV. And what about Lando? He put the manners on Ricciardo. That is a very good call. Nearly skirted past that one. Lando Norris has had a very good start to the season, finishing in 4th place ahead of Ricciardo. I didn't see that coming. Well, I kind of did see it coming because Lando tends to start the seasons very well. But I expected Ricciardo to be a little bit closer to him. But I think most people are going to be forgiving of Ricciardo, purely because Lando's been there for a few seasons. He's a McLaren boy through and through. And it's his first race at McLaren, so there's going to be a bit of a gap, just like there was with Sergio Perez, and just like there is with a few other new drivers, not including Alonso, into that mix. What do you think about Lando's performance, Adam?
He's always done well at Bahrain, hasn't he? I think there was a stat on the Sunday about him always doing well. See that he finished 19.5 seconds ahead of Ricciardo. That's quite significant. And I think Norris is really good, though. I think this is the thing. I think obviously he's got this nice guy persona, and people think he's a bit of a meme god and all this sort of stuff. And yeah, that's part of who he is, and part of his personality. But he is also very, very quick and very, very competitive. And he'll have gone into this weekend thinking, I want to put my stamp on this team. I want to put my stamp on this season before anyone else gets to it. So he's really set his stall out in his first weekend to kind of show, he's serious. He wants to lead the team long term because Ricciardo is, 30, 31?
31.
So Norris is the future of that team, but he also wants to be the present as well. So I think Norris is a good call for one of those under the radar drivers of the day because there was racing happening at the front, we didn't really see a lot of that. But yeah, he was very good.
Yeah, very impressive from Lando. We'll read out a few more comments because there's quite a few coming in. Thank you, keep them coming in. Keep me busy. Keep Adam busy with the questions. Give him a good grilling. What's under that hat? I want to know. That's the question. No, I'm joking. Don't ask that. Oh wow. Well, it's a lot more hair than I've got, so I'll give you that. So people are... the barbers are still... Oh yeah, they just still are closed. Lockdown. We've got one from Bahama Tutiamats. People are conflicting or confusing track limits with overtaking off track. That's a good point. Max did kind of just overtake off track, if you want to put it simply. We've got one from JTT. One just widen track at turn 4 will make much better overtaking opportunities. That is an idea. Guess they've kind of got the space to do it.
If people if the track was widened, they'd just go wide on that as well.
Yeah, it'd kind of create a new racing line, I imagine.
Yeah, that turn 4 is where the Sakir Grand Prix track from at the end of the year went off onto that other section on the outside. Yeah. So yeah, there's plenty of tarmac there, so people would just continue to take it faster and go wider. The thing with the overtake with Max was you kind of see Lewis come off the brakes, knowing if he's side by side with Max, he's entitled to take his space and move Max off the line. Yeah, he did that, knowing that it would end up with the stewards. So again, it's one of those experience moves where he knows exactly what he's doing in the moment.
Yeah, I think he really learned. He really learned. Which Italian Grand Prix was it? It wasn't Imola, where Leclerc won in 2019. Monza. He really learned from that experience where Charles didn't give him any quarter. He was literally so hard in terms of how he raced him. He was so tough. And I think Lewis was surprised by how hard he raced him. I think most of us were surprised. I think he's learned that he's going to take his space. He's not going to just, give people space to come up next to him, especially if they're that good. Max or a Charles, I need to stop saying Charles, it's Charles, yeah. Keep on getting that wrong. But yeah, I think he's learned his lesson. Got a comment from Homer Kwangu. I don't think Hamilton had a slow car. He had a lot of fastest laps, didn't he? Yeah, I think we're still learning about what the kind of great points are about each of the team's cars. I can imagine just off the first race, you could say that Red Bull have that 1 lap qualifying pace. Mercedes might be better during races, might have it more together during races, so we'll have to wait and see how that pans out. We've got Liam saying, if you want to get the community involved, get me in on these live streams. Okay, Liam, we've got a long list, but I will be probably getting more people involved to potentially do more live streams on a weekly basis. Adam has a regular slot every 2 weeks, keeping me on my toes. But remember, this is just a part-time. It's not even part-time. I've got a full-time job, so this kind of just keeps me engaged in the community, and it's just in addition to my day job. So we do what we can. Hugo's saying, I think the echo is coming from you, Adam, but we can sort that out another time. Don't worry about it now. I don't think it's too horrendous. Otherwise, people will definitely be letting us know. But Hugo, thank you for that. We'll address that soon. Probably start using headphones on both sides, just to make sure. Peter on pole. Everyone go and check him out. He's a great YouTuber. He's saying Racing House in the building. Good to see you both. Rock One. Lando seems to be taking things more seriously this year, even in interviews. I've not noticed that, to be honest. Because I haven't really watched any of the interviews from this year, even after the race. So have you noticed that, Adam?
Yeah, in the launch event, there was a little bit of frostiness between him and Ricciardo. Just a little bit of frostiness.
Really?
Yeah. So there was something Ricciardo said a comment about Lando being really young, and he responded saying that Ricciardo was really old. Like it started, and it was just a little bit of tension there, just a little bit. I'm just going to go and grab some earphones as well.
No, that's fine. Yeah, I think I'll. I'm surprised to hear that. Let us know in the comment section if you saw that as well. A little bit of standoffish between Lando and Daniel Ricciardo. That's a good point. I can imagine, based on what Lando's actually said, he did say that he would be taking a new approach. So I'm excited to see that. And it looks like it might be paying off for him. Let's hope that he can sustain that. Got a comment here from Peter on pole. Looking forward to the Ferrari v McLaren battle. If Bahrain was anything to go by. Who finishes on top? I think McLaren have the better car, but Ferrari has the better driver in Charles. 16 thoughts. I think McLaren have definitely been the consistent or one of the most consistent teams in the past 2.5, 3 years. They've shown a lot of development and improvement since they've taken a new direction in terms of their management. They brought on some very good drivers. Their improvement has been on a quite sharp incline. So I would have to agree with you on that sense. I think McLaren, like, even though my bold predictions video, I can't even remember what I did in that video, but it was a bit of a mess. Who knows where I put McLaren? I probably put them last, but based on what I've seen in this first race, McLaren, they are very strong. They've put a strong package together. They've got a solid driver lineup. Lando's doing it for them at the moment. But you can't ignore Ferrari. This is one of the main things that I said in my predictions video. You can never, ever rule out Ferrari, no matter how bad they've been previously. Last year they were pretty bad, but I knew they'd be able to put a good package together, and we're seeing that. And that development will continue, I think, over the course of the year. And it was quite interesting because Sainz came out and said that he was kind of playing it safe for most of the race. I think he was driving well within his limits, because it sounds like he was very nervous about being in the car. He just wanted to make sure that he set a good pole time. He got a good position for the start of the race, and he ended the race. So that might just show you a little bit of an indication that there's still a little bit of more room and improvement in terms of performance for Sainz to come through. But on the flip side, does that raise questions about Sainz? Does that? Because I'm trying to think about the top drivers. Would they leave anything left over? They would give it their all. They wouldn't have that fear of binning the car, or not having a car to go racing with for the start of the race, or not making it through to Q3. They would just go for it. So this one side, I'm thinking, yeah, it's a fair point. Play it safe, get into Q3 or get to the next step, finish the race. But on the flip side, I'm like, it's a bit of a weird approach to take. Let me know what you think in the comment section down below. What do you think, Adam?
Yeah, I agree. I think he's already got an eye on the future, hasn't he? And he wants to be a good teammate for now. I think he's prioritising the team right now. Yeah. So he qualified 8th and he finished 8th, which is fine. Like it's okay for the first race, but Leclerc qualified 4th, which is obviously very, very impressive. That was a super lap.
Very impressive.
Yeah, definitely. So Leclerc was only, it's actually quite a long way, 7/10 from Max in qualifying, but only 3/10 from Lewis. So if you said to Ferrari you're going to be 3/10 off Mercedes in qualifying on the first round, yes please.
Yes, I'll take that. Give it to me now.
Yes please. Yeah. So this is why I picked them for my constructor on Grid Rival, because I feel like they are going to improve this year, and I think they were undervalued in that league. But I do think that, like you say, you can never fully count them out. And Leclerc's one of the best drivers on planet Earth. He just is. He's just one of the best. And I think if he had the machinery to compete, he would be fighting Lewis and Max every weekend if he had the machinery. And hopefully we'll see that.
Yeah, I think Charles is just taking his time. He understands the long game. Similar to Sainz, to be fair. I think Sainz understands the long game. It's not.
The thing as well though is Leclerc's got a long contract now.
Have they renewed it again?
Yeah, he's got the longest contract in F1 now, hasn't he?
Wow, Ferrari really, they're putting all their money on him. They want to make sure that his contract is secure, not going anywhere. Because really it's him and then Verstappen that are the diamond pieces beneath Lewis. Those are the prime targets for most teams. We all know that Mercedes are going to be looking around probably next year, as early as this year most likely. Because I won't keep on saying it, but I think Bottas's days are a little bit numbered, given the ability that's out there on the track. And Max Verstappen's contract's probably coming up for negotiation at some point soon as well. George Russell, not Charles Leclerc anymore, but there's going to be a lot of talent coming through.
Yeah, Leclerc's contract runs until the end of 2024.
Wow.
So
Yeah, they're really
Yeah.
committed to him. And just talking
like you
about,
say,
go on.
like you say, like with the Mercedes situation, that's obviously a developing situation. And again, Bottas, a bit uninspiring. Like, wasn't great, was he? He just didn't do a lot.
Mm.
He just Bottased about, just in third, doing his thing. Just being a bit inconspicuous and just doing all right, which is good. And obviously for the constructors, it's good. But there was a point where his engineers told him to go and hunt Max down, and he just couldn't do it at his pace. So I feel like that. I don't know. I just feel like we're picking up where we left off with Bottas, and it's going to be a continued 2020 for him. Every year, I know it's been said before by multiple people, but every year we have this thing where it's Bottas whatever 0.0, and he's coming with a beard, and this year he's got a moustache, and he's eating an ice cream. That's Bottas ice cream 0.0. It's like, yeah, he's cool, but obviously he wants to win, but he doesn't seem to have that extra gear, that champion gear right at the end. So yeah, I can see him being replaced. Personally.
Yeah, I think it can happen. It could definitely happen. One thing that I did want to say previously, because we were talking about Tsunoda, like I see that as pure alarm bells for Checo, because he's only got a 1 year contract, hasn't he, with Red Bull?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So that is a bit worrying how good Tsunoda is. Obviously, he's going to still be learning, and Red Bull, I think, will they learn their lesson previously about chucking drivers young in their career up against a very strong Max Verstappen? I'm not quite sure that will be the case, because they'll see.
Here's a wild conspiracy. Well, it's not really a conspiracy, just a wild idea. You know what I'm like.
Yeah, you do love it.
I love a wild idea. So Perez performs well this year. Let's say Tsunoda performs brilliantly and is just an outstanding talent. They put Tsunoda in that second seat. Sebastian Vettel retires, and Checo goes back to Aston Martin. Is that impossible?
It's not impossible. It's not impossible. I think Vettel really needs to. God, after what he did, yeah, I can't believe he rear-ended someone again.
And then blame Ocon.
Yeah, he said he moved. I think David Coulthard summed it up perfectly, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
He actually called him delusional on air. I was very surprised. That was so strong. Mm-hmm. Such strong words, but I'm not sure how else you could describe it.
Yeah, particularly considering that obviously DC and Vettel are part of that extended Red Bull family. It's really strong words.
It is. Like, Vettel is like that with the owner of Red Bull, the actual company. And he knows Christian well. He knows Dr. Helmut well. He's in there. He goes on holiday with them, or used to go on holiday with them. And like David Coulthard is part of that same group. I think he's an ambassador for them, from what I remember. So it was very strong words. Who knows what else has gone on between them all? I'm sure Sebastian can take it. Like, he's used to the banter, especially this year and last year. So yeah, that was just a thought. Yuki up to Red Bull puts Checo in a lot of danger. Who was your one disappointment from the race? Who disappointed you the most?
I think we've just talked about it. I think Vettel, because there was all this hype about this new driver lineup, and he's going to be like really looked after by Aston Martin, and there's this whole rebrand, and Stroll's putting loads of money into it, and it's all this hype and all this kind of media train and marketing train of everything, and then he's still like Vettel from last year. I think we all hoped that he'd have this new lease of life, and he'd come into the situation like, raring to go and wanting to prove something with a chip on his shoulder, and he doesn't make it out of Q1, and then the back of someone, and that's it. It's game over. It's a real shame, and it's interesting because since the rule changes a couple of years ago, Vettel's not been the same. And maybe these cars just don't suit his strengths anymore, and maybe that coupled with age and he's not going to win another title, is he? So maybe he's just not where he was mentally anymore, because he's not fighting right at that front, at that sharp end.
Yeah, it is going to be hard for him, especially with the amount of young, talented drivers in and amongst it, challenging for race wins. And then there's Max Verstappen there as well, just waiting to pick up and take those race victories where Mercedes don't. We've got All About Steph 1 joining the chat today. Hello, thanks for joining. Go and check out her channel once you've got a minute after you've watched this video, naturally. Another great YouTuber. We've got James Welburn. Can't give Perez driver of the day. He finished 4th in the fastest car. If Verstappen had stayed in the pit lane, he still would have been 3rd. Oof. Can't give it to Checo. That's an interesting viewpoint. I think, yeah, we can't actually say categorically he does have the fastest car as well, because we know what Red Bull are like. They full on admitted last season that they needed to make Albon's car better, which implies that the cars aren't the same. So I think there's a lot to be said. I think Checo knows, he knew what the situation would be. Like, they tend to just put all their effort into Max, and the other driver has to make do. So I think it's very hard for us to say that they do both have the fastest car. He was extremely fast during the race, but we have to wait and see how he handles that car, and if he can have a good start of a race and go on to get on the podium with Red Bull, secure more points consistently. It's still very early from him. We've got loads of comments. Keep them coming in, everyone. We've got one from Darkness Has Fallen. Red Bull is not going to put another rookie. I'm pretty sure they've learned their lesson. I mean, I'm going to do a video about this very soon, by the way, hopefully with a big collaboration. Either way, it will come out, but I just think this is the Red Bull kind of way. This is the way. They just like to chuck people in the deep end. It's a very aggressive environment. You either survive or they boot you, demote you, get rid of you. That's how they operate. But I'll go into more about that in the video that I do. And I think they would actually do it again. I don't think they would hesitate, especially when we look at who's in charge of that driver program. Keep the comments coming in. Give the video a like if you're watching it now. If you're watching on playback as well, make sure you support the channel in what way you can. Who is my letdown of the day? I'm going to go for Nikita Mazepin, or Nikita Mazepin, as Liam Talks Motorsport says. There's been a lot of attention on him at the moment. After all his antics, there's been a lot of backlash on social media, in real life. He's had to come out and apologise a few times, I think, for his actions. We're not going to go into too much detail about that, but I was just hoping that he'd be able to just finish the race, or at least get a few laps in, and for him to bin the car before the race had even started. That was just... it was just so disappointing. Disappointing because it's his first race in F1 ever. That's his debut, and it's just sad to see for anyone to end their race like that. So let's see how he recovers. Let's see what he's made of. Has he got the minerals to come back and show people what talent he does have? Because he must be able to drive the car decently. I remember David Coulthard was watching the highlights of the race, and David Coulthard was not very complimentary of him either, I think. Yeah, what do you think?
I think it's just a bit rubbish, isn't it? I mean, he got down into turn 1 and didn't manage to run into anyone, which is a good start. And then you see him kind of lose the car out of turn 1, because obviously the tyres are cold, the car's heavy with fuel. It's probably different to how he's driven it before. But, you know, if you're starting at the back, your first priority is get through the first lap, and then you see what you're doing from there. But he's obviously put his boot through it, and he's lit the rears up, and then he's gone into the next corner and then done exactly the same thing. He's lit the rears up. Just, yeah. So it's not, yeah. it's not.
It's not a good look at all.
Not yet. It doesn't help his situation, does it? Let's
No.
put it that way.
Let-
Because if he'd come out into this race and had a blinding race and like overtaken loads of people and like ended up 14th, there'd be people saying, oh well, maybe he's going to make up for it and maybe he's going to like start to repair his reputation and make good choices and like do what he can to repair the situation and all that kind of thing. But this just like feeds into the extended narrative of him being a bit useless, just in general.
Yeah, I think it does just fit into that narrative. But for him, he's brand new to the sport. Maybe he should just take the approach of not to expect too much, to actually go racing and challenge too much, because they are effectively the worst car on the grid, based on where they finished and also your prediction video. You predicted this
On purpose. It's all on purpose.
It's all on purpose. But yeah, there's only so much that they can achieve. What are they actually improving for? I think he should take it as an opportunity to just get used to an F1 car because his seat is secure. Let's be honest, he's not going to lose his seat.
Nope.
After all that he's done, the fact that he's done that in his first race as a rookie, the fact that his dad basically owns the team, he's not going to lose a seat. So he just needs to take his time and get up to speed with that one. Guys, keep the comments coming in. I love the discussion that's happening amongst you all. Leave a comment for me if you've got any questions. I'm just going to wrap it up, but before we do, what do you think is going to happen at the next race? Imola. Is it Imola?
It is.
It is Imola.
Yeah.
2 weeks away. Can't believe they've done that to us.
Yeah, all that travelling back into Europe and stuff, isn't it? And COVID restrictions and all those kind of shenanigans. I actually think we'll see another strong showing from Red Bull. I think the adjustments that they've made in terms of downforce, I think they've probably recovered that downforce quicker than Mercedes have. And the conversations that we've had previously about Red Bull's kind of tactics and approach to things in terms of developing the car and kind of filling the gaps in through the year, it seems it's possible that they've done it a little bit differently this year and they want to start stronger, obviously knowing that the cars are going to be completely different next year. So maybe instead of throwing that development to the end of the year and saying, right, okay, we're going to fill these gaps in and hopefully at the end of the year we're going to be the fastest car, it's possible, I don't know obviously, but it's possible that they've said, right, we want to be quick all season because we've got a whole new concept next year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we're going to see another strong showing from Red Bull, and I think it's going to be exciting. I think we can have a good few races to start the year.
Yeah, I hope to see another strong showing from Red Bull, McLaren hopefully as well. Charles, he needs to get up there and challenge for a podium. I think we've really seen how competitive it can be this year, and I just want that to continue. I'm done with the one dominant team, kind of making things a little bit boring, but you can't really blame someone for being just extremely good at their jobs. So yeah, hopefully Red Bull can actually take it to them, because I think it's really weird that Lewis won the first race of the season. Normally he's not a good starter. I wasn't expecting him to win this race at all. But hopefully that works in the favour of the other teams, because Lewis, as a driver, he likes to be the underdog. He likes to have something as a target to aim for. Sorry, I can't keep a straight face. Peter on pole just said Bottas on pole. Are you being serious there, Peter? Let me know. But yeah, Lewis loves to be the underdog. He loves to have something to aim for. He loves the challenge. I think he tends to start seasons slowly. So I'm hoping that he does get a bit complacent and allows other people to come and potentially take some race wins and keep him on his toes and keep us excited with the prospect that this season won't be just a Mercedes blackwash or silver wash, depending on how you want to look at it, depending on their livery. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Thank you for joining us, everyone, on this live stream. We'll be back again at least in 2 weeks, maybe next week with another live stream, depending on how much energy I've got or if I have to cook. Yeah, it just depends what life is doing to me. If you're watching this on playback, leave a comment. Let us know what you think. Who is your driver of the day? Who do you think's going to win the next race at Imola? Who let you down the most? All that jazz. Let us know. But that pretty much leaves it there for us. Thank you for watching, everyone. Until next time.